Okay, here in lesson 5.5, example 6, it talks about solving a trig equation. Notice this trig equation has cosine squareds, it has the half angle, and it tells us to solve from 0 to 2 pi. So only one time, only one revolution around the circle. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this right here, because it can be 2 times the cosine of x over 2 quantity squared. Just rewrite in a different way, and I'm going to replace cosine of x over 2 with the half angle formula. And so this becomes 1 plus cosine squared of x equals 2 times 1 plus cosine of x over 2 square root quantity squared. So I replace cosine of x over 2 with 1 plus cosine x over 2 square root quantity squared. And so since I'm squaring a square root, it becomes 1 plus the cosine squared of x equals 2 times 1 plus the cosine of x. Let me write that a little better. 1 plus the cosine of x over 2, like this. Now I'm going to multiply by 2, and those cancel each other out. I get 1 plus cosine squared of x equals 1 plus cosine of x. Well, I'm going to subtract 1, those are going to cancel out. I'm going to subtract the cosine of x from both sides, and I get cosine squared of x minus cosine of x equals 0. Common factor is the cosine of x. So I'm left with cosine x times cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Set your factors equal 0. I get the cosine of x equal to 1 and the cosine of x equals 0. So I'm going to draw my quadrantal angle thing here because it has zeros and ones. 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, comma, negative 1. Cosine is x. So where is x 0? Well, here at pi. And down here at 3 pi over 2. So there's two answers. Where's the cosine of x equal to 1? Well, again, cosine is x, so right there at 0. I do not include 2 pi because the 2 pi here in the domain has a parenthesis, which means 2 pi is not included. I want you guys to try number 65 out of the book, and then press pause for a second, come back and see if you're able to get it right. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier, but if I look on page 384, I see that I can take the sine of x over 2, and instead of replacing that, I'm going to make this into the cosine of 2 times x over 2, like this. And then I'm going to replace this with a sine type of thing. So I'll get the sine of x over 2 plus 1 minus 2 sine squared of x over 2. You need to look on your formula reference sheet to go from here to here. Okay? And that's still equal to 0. Now I'm going to have to add in this, and so it's going to become negative 2 sine squared of x over 2 plus sine of x over 2 plus 1 equals 0. Since I have my thing that is squared equal to it with a negative, I'll divide everything by negative 1 to get positive 2 sine squared of x over 2 plus sine of x over 2 plus, that'd be minus sine of that because I divided by negative 1, then minus 1 equals 0. Excuse me. What I would tell you next is, this looks kind of hard, but you can factor this. So I'm going to replace the sine x over 2 thing, and I'm just going to replace that with x, so it'll look like this. 2x squared minus x minus 1. And so that'll factor the 2x, x there. These both have to be 1s. And by trial and error, it factors the 2x plus 1x minus 1. And so now instead of x, I'm going to have sine of x over 2. So it becomes 2 sine of x over 2 plus 1 times sine of x over 2 minus 1. Like that. Now that I factor it, set my factors equal to 0. Instead of rewriting all this, I'm just going to put equals 0 equals 0. Therefore, that gives me 2 sine of x over 2 equal to negative 1. Sine of x over 2 equal to negative 1/2. Sine of x over 2 equal to 1. So I added 1 to both sides. Where is the sine equal to 1? Well, the sine equals 1. Sine is y, so 0 comma 1. Sine would be pi. So x over 2 would equal pi because sine is y, and that's where it's 1. So multiply both sides by 2, and x equals 2 pi. Well, we notice oh, excuse me, I made a mistake there. This is pi over 2, so x over 2 equals pi over 2. Multiply by 2 and x equals pi. Pi is within inside that range, so there's one answer. Now we go to the negative 1/2. I'm going to come over here and just draw a triangle with it. Just draw me a triangle. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so we know that's a 30-degree angle, which is pi over 6. We know pi over 6 negatively would be in the third and fourth quadrant, so in the third it would be 7 pi over 6, and in the fourth it would be 11 pi over 6. So I have to say x over 2 equals, x over 2 equals, multiply by 2, you get x equals 14 pi over 6, so x would equal, divided by 2, 7 pi over 3. Here, if I have x over 2, let me write that a little better. X over 2 equals 11 pi over 6. Multiply by 2, x equals 22 pi over 6. So x equals 11 pi over 3. Well, what do I notice about both of these is that both of these are greater than 2 pi. And since they're greater than 2 pi, they're outside the range given to us in the original problem. Therefore, those two don't work out, and the only answer to number 65 is pi.